What's up, Crypto Paradise fam? It is Ian and Nick. It is Tuesday, May 21st. We are back with another video. We were on last Friday talking about the Ethereum ETF. I was on record saying, I don't think it's going to happen. Well, I feel dumb. I feel dumb because the SEC seemingly has done a complete 180 and it looks like it's getting approved. So this is crazy. What a wild swing back and forth. Nick, what are your most recent thoughts on all this? Where do you think this is going?
Yeah, I don't want to pat myself on the back yet because until the approval actually happens, then I don't want to celebrate. It does concern me a little bit that everybody is kind of flipping and like, oh my God, it's definitely getting approved here in a day. So that makes me a little hesitant. But I've been saying for a long time, I predicted when the Bitcoin spot ETF was going to happen. I've been saying that the Ethereum spot ETF would happen in May or August of 2024. We've been telling projects that we were advising that this was going to happen. They didn't really believe it either. And in the last video, I was the most optimistic, saying, hey, I don't know if it'll be approved in May. I still think probably a higher probability in August, but I do not believe it will be denied. At worst case, it will be delayed. That, I will say, seems pretty realistic. If everybody's saying it's approved, I think the worst case saying that it will be delayed will be happening. As we know, with this hype and this rumor mill coming, with the ETH ETF potentially being approved here in just a couple of days, Ethereum has surged. If you remember on the video me and Ian did with our technical analysis, I showed you the bullish pennant that was forming on Ethereum, saying that it was on the brink of breakout, and it looks like that may have happened just yesterday, and that's why we had such an impulsive move higher based on the TA and now the FA coming together as one.
Well, you heard it here first, folks. We got Nostradamus on the channel, okay? So, not financial advice. Hey, sometimes you get them wrong, these calls and these predictions. Sometimes you get them right. It looks like you got this one right, Nick. So, great work there. I think digging into this a little bit more, a few things happened. I think the Biden administration realized that pissing off the crypto community is bad politics. There's not a ton of us, let's just be honest. I mean, we're not like a massive voting bloc, but if an administration is going to absolutely wreck an industry, it just means that almost no one there from the crypto community was going to vote for Biden.
Right.
And I think they realized that. And I think they also realized that who is this anti-crypto constituency? Well, for a time, it was probably Wall Street, right? But now Wall Street's backing it. It's Wall Street who's applied for these ETFs. So who's anti-crypto anymore that really gives a shit? So you only have people that are pro-crypto, whether that's retail people like, like us and everyone watching the show. And now you have pro-crypto on the Wall Street side. So who's against this? So I think politically, and in fact, the tweet that I read, so a guy, he's a Bloomberg analyst. He's, probably has inside sources from the government. And in his tweet, when they changed the prediction from a 25% chance of approval and 75% chance of rejection, and they flipped it and they said 75%, and this all happened yesterday, right? In his tweet, he's like, parentheses, this is political. So they're not even denying that it's political. But if you think about it, it just makes perfect sense. Who was anti this? I don't know anyone who was anti this.
Right. And the only people that are still anti are the ones who are still feeding off the old narrative that the government pushed on you, that it was only for drug dealers and criminals. So, and very few people still believe that. Also, you say it's not that many people. Now, the people who are really deep into it and have substantial amount of funds is probably a very small amount of people. But I feel like with the inflation and the interest rates and the way things have been going in financial markets across the world, that number is growing quite rapidly. And individuals, like a lot of my friends, they have a couple $100 in it and they follow it so much, even though they only have a couple $100. I think we're starting to see that more and more. And people, when they have no other reason to vote, they're going to be voting with their pocket. I mean, that's personally what I vote for. I vote for what affects me, my family, my friends, and then ultimately my wallet is the most important thing because that affects my livelihood. And I think a lot of other people are starting to vote that way, which tells you why this is political now more than ever.
Well, it's always when it comes to politics, it's the economy, stupid, right? That's that famous phrase from I think the Clinton era, which basically means yes, people vote with their pocketbook. And I just looked it up, by the way. According to this, security.org, I don't know how accurate this is, but they're saying 40% of adults now own crypto. That could be as many as 93 million people. Now, I don't know if I fully buy that because maybe they're just looking at the wallets on chain. And like, for example, I probably have 20 wallets, you know what I mean? So,
Right.
so I don't know exactly how accurate it is, but that is a heck. I mean, even if it's 40 million people, that is easily enough to sway an election.
Right.
Easily, when your elections are at the margins, 10,000 people in Michigan or wherever, 40 million people. So it made no sense politically to be anti-crypto. And I think and I hope that the Biden administration has now seen the light, and hopefully they call Gensler off too, call the dogs off some of these investigations and these lawsuits up against major crypto companies like Consensus over, MetaMask staking or whatever is just completely ridiculous. So hopefully it continues in a positive direction, and hopefully the Ethereum ETF does get approved. I actually am I'm feeling almost 100% certain it will be. Now whether it happens this week or whatever, we'll see. But I just read right before we came on this recording, Fidelity, I think it was one of the major issuers, has just updated their proposal, their application, and it's exactly what we saw leading up to the approval of the Bitcoin ETF. And so what that means, issuers basically updated their proposal, changing this or that or whatever to satisfy, because SEC is probably saying, okay, we like this, we like that, we don't like that, get rid of that, whatever. And so now they're updating it. Same exact thing that happened with the Bitcoin ETF. So this is going to happen. I'm very, very certain this is going to happen. Again, I don't know when exactly. I think this week, but we'll see. But this is going to happen. I'm glad I just held ETH. I'm glad I'm staking it.
Right.
I'm a big
Yeah.
believer in it. And so, feeling good, feeling
Yeah.
good.
And I think, honestly, being even the optimist, I almost am wishing or kind of hoping for it just to get denied in May. And people would say, why would you want that? Well, what you'll see is you'll see a minor sell off. You'll see a red bar like, oh my gosh, Bloomberg was wrong. But what that does is it leaves more time, more speculation, more buy the rumor, sell the news to build this price up even higher, leading into the potential approval in August, which would probably be the 100% approval. So for me, I'm almost, as a trader and as a long-term crypto believer, I wouldn't mind it getting delayed in the next couple of days and then the approval coming in 2 months from now, just to let this hype build up, let the speculation build up and this rumor mill going. And I think that pushes Ethereum much higher, like we saw on the back of the Bitcoin spot ETF lead up. But also, it's good to see that the note is changing from the U.S. government. Although it's political, guys, remember who actually really supports crypto. Don't fall for this nonsense and switch up your vote. But also, it's good for the innovation and the economy of the United States because, as we know, and we've been talking about, the Hong Kong Ethereum spot ETF has already been approved. They're already getting fees off that. They're already getting their investors in that. They're already getting tax dollars on that. And it's good to see that the United States isn't going to let us fall too far behind that of Hong Kong.
Yeah, that's the other thing. Like long term, makes no sense to be anti an industry that is so innovative that is bringing jobs, that can generate jobs, generate income, generate tax revenue. Makes no sense to be anti crypto. Yes, let's get the frauds out. Let's prosecute the frauds and the scam artists hard. You know what I mean? But let's let the rest flourish. You know what I mean? So yeah, I'm excited for this week. We'll see what transpires. But what do you think? I have one more question for you, Nick, and then I want to turn to other aspects of the crypto space because I think this bodes well for the alts and Altseason and all that. So, assuming this gets approved this week, right? You think it's a buy the rumor, sell the news, and we see a dip, and then more consolidation, and then more upward, or what's your prediction on assuming it gets approved this week?
I think if it gets approved this week, I think the sell the news portion is much less significant than that we saw in Bitcoin. Why? Because Bitcoin went through several approvals and denials and let that hype and that speculation build up. Everybody knew when it was coming. We just didn't know when. So it kept lagging higher even though every denial happened. And that's why ultimately you had the bigger sell the news event in correspondence with the halving happening, which is always a sell the news event. So that was like a double whammy. So if Ethereum gets approved here, maybe you see some people like, oh, it's sell the news. I'm going to panic sell a little bit, but I think it's going to be short-lived, and the upside is much higher and much quicker for Ethereum than we've seen for Bitcoin after their approval. Now, if we have the Ethereum spot ETF not getting approved to August, that's where I think we see a consolidation here and some build up, another consolidation, some build up over the next couple months, and then we'll have that bigger one green bar on approval and then bigger sell the news event. So it really just depends on when the approval happens, but that's kind of how I see it playing out.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. This has basically been
very quick turnaround.
This week, it's only been a couple days of rumor.
It was literally less than a week ago. All these big influencers are saying it's getting denied, not even delayed. They're saying denied, not happening, not going to happen, da da da. And now 4 days later, they're all doing. You see all the thumbnails. ETF approval is happening 100%. So just keep in mind, who's feeding you the information, who's keeping a calm shoulder, and who's making the accurate predictions, rather than these influencers who can seemingly flip flop on every single call within a day. So, but that's why I believe if it happens, less of a sell the news event, and we go higher much more rapidly, just because people haven't had time to speculate on it yet.
Yep. And then the other thing to add too is once the sort of the fundamentals start to fall into place from the standpoint of actual what does the approval mean? Well, that means institutions can now buy Ethereum, and you won't see the inflows that you saw with Bitcoin because people are just these institutions are going to be dipping their toes, I think, into the Ethereum side, but obviously that there will be buy pressure there, and you'll be seeing inflows coming in, and it'll be in the hundreds of millions, and that will then I'm sure be a catalyst as well as time goes by. So
Ethereum's an easier narrative to sell, I think, to institutions too, because it is proof of stake. So those who are environmentally conscious don't have to worry about it as much. Also, Ethereum currently is on some days deflationary, and on others only slightly inflationary. So you do have a smaller uphill battle there. Bitcoin produces 450 Bitcoin a day, worth $22 million. Ethereum is sometimes negative on the day. So even though inflows may be lower, I think those inflows do help that price up higher. Also, of course, we know Ethereum is a smaller market cap, but I do agree that more people have and will be going in heavier to Bitcoin because it's the more known product. But I think over time, Ethereum is the easier sell. The internet of money, environmentally safe, deflationary asset.
yeah, totally. I think the narrative is an easier sell. Gas of the whole industry, right? You need a little bit of whereas the utility of Bitcoin is still sort of an open
Digital gold.
question, right? Like
Yeah.
outside of holding it, value goes. I mean, you can send it around the world. I mean, we love Bitcoin. There is a lot of utility, but the selling point of Ethereum versus Bitcoin to Wall Street types, right? To sophisticated investors, I think is a little bit easier. So that's a really good point. All right, so let's hope this approval happens. It's going to benefit Ethereum, obviously. What do you think this means for Altseason, for pre-sales, for the rest of the crypto markets?
Yeah, we've been talking about this, been talking a lot about why altcoins move. And we always say it's because a lot of them, ERC20s, are paired with Ethereum. So if Ethereum is going up in price, it helps drag your price higher. It also puts speculation on for altcoins. If Ethereum is down, it's dragging your LP down in value, which means less liquidity to the downside, means when people panic sell, that's why you get the cascading red bars in altcoins. So if an Ethereum approval happens for the Bitcoin or the Ethereum spot ETF, obviously the price of ETH is going to go up. That drags your LPs to bigger valuations. That slowly drags the altcoins higher. Then people are going to become more risk on, take more speculative plays into the altcoin industry, which is when we see these massive green bars in altcoins that we haven't seen in the past 2 or 3 years now. So very exciting times coming. This is why I've been telling you, regardless of where Bitcoin ranges, whether we go to 50,000 or 80,000, you're not bullish enough on crypto. You do not have enough altcoin exposure. You need to get that passive income going. And then ultimately, you need to get involved with pre-sales before new projects even launch. And maybe you can talk a little bit on your opinion on if you think I'm right or wrong, and then dive into how we access most of our pre-sales.
Yeah, I think that's a completely accurate depiction of what is going to occur with alt season coming. When that actually, a true alt season happens, I don't know if that's going to be in the next few weeks here. I mean, I think things are going to do well, certainly, but I think we're still a bit of ways away from everything doing a 10x for no reason, which happens usually after Bitcoin goes parabolic. We haven't seen that yet. Bitcoin's got to be up in the 100Ks range probably for us to have another alt season where everything's doing just insane gains. But nonetheless, I think you're going to see a lot of green candles, a lot of people happy in the altcoin space. And like you said, this means there's going to be additional appetite for pre-sales, which is a higher risk play, but normally higher reward as well. I think we're already seeing that a bit happen. So let me just back up a little bit. For the past few months, pre-sales were a bit anemic. Why? When projects were launching, pre-sale projects were launching, you saw this very sort of consistent chart and pattern where you have initial pump around the launch itself, because a lot of hype and so on. But as the vesting occurs, there just is not enough buy pressure to counteract that sell pressure, and you have these kind of like slow bleed out scenarios where eventually price will stabilize. Hopefully the pre-sale investors have sold out, and then you have an opportunity for another uptrend. I think what's going to happen here soon is assuming the ETF gets approved, blah, blah, you're going to see projects performing much better at the time of launch. I think you're going to see more appetite. You're going to see more demand for pre-sales. And obviously, they're still risky. There's no doubt in my mind. But when things are going well in the crypto markets, the risk reward ratio, I think, makes a lot of sense for these pre-sales. Not financial advice, as always, but I do think another pre-sale kind of launch pad type season should be coming up here soon. I'm pretty excited about it.
Yeah, and I mean, we've done via the decentralized incubator, so we'll get into some of the criteria to apply for those and be eligible for those, and how you earn passive income for it, whatever. But even in this last year, we've done 100x on one project, a 10x on another project. One of our earlier launches is now at 4x, plus it's been producing 20% passive income. So even in kind of the doldrum of the pre-sale market, there is still money to be made there when you get in early. It's just not as explosive as we've seen, where everything is doing massive moon missions, and you really shouldn't sell any allocations because that's going to continue for a foreseeable future. So that part of the market cycle is coming. The Ethereum ETF approval does help that, and I think we should position to get ready for that. So do you want to kind of go over some of the criteria on how we get into pre-sales personally, and people following this? This is probably what I would recommend doing. You also have myself and Ian and a lot of the other crypto paradise people and OGs that we bring on this channel are kind of helping advise and direct these projects. So at least you know there is some sort of backing and some due diligence going on for some of these pre-sales.
Yeah, exactly. So we did a video a few weeks back talking about different ways you can get involved in pre-sales. We talked about some launch pads, syndicates. We talked about the decentralized incubator, which we're participants in. How that works is it's quite simple. It's one of the I would say least stressful, easiest ways to get involved with pre-sales. And how it works is you stake a certain amount of FRM token, minimum 30,000 tokens, which I think at this price is maybe $1,500 or something. It's not a ton, to get a guaranteed allocation into one of these upcoming pre-sales, normally in one of the earlier rounds, seed and or private round. And it's as simple as you registering your email address. You'll then get an email asking whether you want to participate. You fill out a form, you verify that you're an accredited investor, so on and so forth. You go through some steps, but ultimately, it's very simple to invest into one of these pre-sales. And then normally, when the project launches, it'll take maybe a month or two in some cases, maybe even it could be as quickly as a week, but sometimes it's a month or two before between when you actually are investing, sending your funds to the project, and when the project token actually launches. But when they do launch, in most cases, it's very simple to claim your tokens. Oftentimes, the project is using Ironvest, which is a Ethereum network product, and it's very simple. You connect your wallet, you claim your tokens, you can claim them on a daily basis, and then that's it, right? And you obviously should support that project you invest in. You should do research on that project. You should be involved and engaged. But it's quite simple. It's not a first come first serve. Oh, I have to be stressed. I have to be at my computer at the exact moment in time. Usually, you have about a week to actually invest into the project. And in that sense, I think it's one of the simplest
Yeah,
and straightforward syndicates out there.
yeah, I would say because you don't have to be. It's not first come first serve, and the goalpost for allocations isn't moving. So the more FRM from Ferrum Network, so look that up on CoinGecko, FRM token. The more of that you have staked, the bigger allocation size you get. But the minimum to get a 1-to-1 allocation is the 30,000 FRM that he talked about. And then like you also said, you have 3, 4, 5 days to contribute and get involved with the project before the allocation is all filled up. So nothing too stressful. And then when the project launches, you can claim those tokens, you can trade those tokens, you can stake those tokens, you can use those tokens on the product and the platform. That's really up to you. We're just trying to find some new businesses that are launching, get you in early, and let you take advantage of the opportunity to get in cheaper than anybody on the public market can and will. Because understand, when a project launches and it's on the DEX, and then it launches further and is put on the SEX, so many more eyes have already seen it. So much more marketing dollars has been spent. So many more KOLs have talked about it. You're not getting quote unquote late to the game in a bull market, but you're getting in a lot later than those who are getting in the pre-sale, who are already up 5, 10, 20x by the time you even hear about the project for the first time.
Yeah, thank you for digging into the tiers a little bit more. Let's just highlight that. So the 30,000 firm is the minimum. If you want to stake more, it goes up in a very methodical and logical way. 60,000, then 90, 120, and just on and on. And the more you stake, the bigger allocation you get, to the point where some TDI community members, are able to get $5,000, $10,000 allocations in some projects, right? Which is sort of unheard of, particularly in the launchpad world, where the top tiers are normally getting, $500 as a top tier on some of these big launch pads. You know what I mean? And that's great. That's wonderful. I'm sure they launched some good projects, but if you have the capital and if you want to take that risk, you're in being able to invest more is another unique thing, I think, relative to for the decentralized incubator.
Yeah, and I'd like to add to that. Also, if you stake 450,000 FRM or more, there is a private governance committee for the TDI community. This governance committee, gets outside alpha, but also when the raises are smaller, we really can only raise with the governance group. So those individuals in that group do get access to some of those projects who have smaller raises, smaller valuations, whatever it may be. So if you have the capital, I would recommend doing that. All the links to the websites and everything for the decentralized incubator will be under this video. And if you need help getting through the process of buying FRM and staking FRM, then DM Crypto Paradise, DM myself, DM Ian, and one of us will help you get sorted.
Yeah, appreciate that. So yeah, we got. I know there's some good launches coming up. Please do reach out if you have any questions about the decentralized incubator to any of the admins over in that channel. All right, so we're about to wrap up for today. Any final thoughts? When do you think this Ethereum ETF finally gets approved? You thinking this week? You think a couple week delay? Or you think in August?
Well, for a long time, you can see my pinned tweet. I've been saying May or August of 2024. But now that people have flipped so hard, it kind of leads me to believe maybe not till August, or kind of wants me to hope for the reasons I laid out earlier that maybe it doesn't happen in August. I think that would allow more speculation and higher prices. So with the flip, Bloomberg's a big name. It could happen quickly. I talked about how the SEC was flipping their tune and how I could see it happening. But part of me now, even though I was bullish on it happening in a couple of days, I'm rooting for August personally.
Okay, so he's on record for August. I think May, and the reason I think May is there is a deadline coming, right? But also you're seeing the kind of back and forth between the issuers and the SEC, like you saw with the Bitcoin ETF leading up to the approval of that. So given that and the deadline, I think it's going to happen in May. But yeah, it's looking like approval. What a crazy turnaround.
Right.
Wow.
Supremely bullish for the crypto assets. Also, understand this is bullish for Bitcoin because this gives more validation to Bitcoin more than ever. If Ethereum gets approved, then people are going to be like, "What's next?" And Bitcoin is a king index. Understand a lot of these hedge funds and stuff when they invest in stocks are investing in the indices and the leading market drivers in each individual sector. And Bitcoin still remains the king. So I think this will further legitimize even Bitcoin and to get more of their slow movers to delegate funds to both Bitcoin and the Ethereum spot ETFs moving forward.
Yep, crypto's happening. It's not slowing down. It's not stopping. So, hop on the train. Obviously, do your own research, understand what you're getting into. Never financial advice on the Crypto Paradise channel. But yeah, this is going to be a fun bull run, and we will see you guys on the beach.